Cheeky, using Sunny's room for myself, lol. That's right. Sunny can just sleep in the garden, lol. My sister Isabella and my husband Paul said this, laughing frivolously together. This is my parents' house, not just Sunny's. Exactly, Isabella is right. But the idea of Sunny divorcing Paul and me becoming the housewife of this place is starting to sound good. At Isabella's words, Paul was elated. That sounds great. With a sleazy laugh that wouldn't stop. It's hopeless, these two are beyond saving. No, I'll handle this. After being ridiculed to this extent, I can't just stay silent. Understood. But please, just give me one more day, and then I'll move all the stuff out of that room. Please. Seeing me say this and apologize, Isabella and Paul looked at each other and said, We'll wait one more day. After that, the angry me ends up selling the house, lol. My name is Sunny, 26 years old. Currently, I work from home, taking on jobs like translating academic papers through crowdsourcing. It's the 3rd year of marriage, no children, living with my husband Paul. The house we live in was originally my parents', but after they passed away early, and Isabella moved out, I continued living there. Paul works in sales at a food manufacturer. Lately, it's been tough, and he's always leaving early in the morning and coming back late at night. 3 years into our marriage, we've already started drifting apart, with increasingly less time for conversation. Paul is busy with entertainment on weekends. This week it's golf, next it's fishing, and after that, a baseball tournament, making the disconnect even greater. According to Paul, it's a recession, and he has to behave in a way that pleases our valuable regular customers to affect sales performance. Since I work from home, I don't know if that's true, but questioning him about it greatly upsets him, leading to such harsh words that I end up keeping silent, despite my doubts. A plain woman with no particular qualities like Sunny, the only man who would marry you is someone like me. If you're too persistent, you'll be abandoned and in trouble. Indeed, I'm aware that I'm as ordinary as they come. My appearance isn't ugly, but average, and so is my physique. I have no special talents. It's not that I'm being self-deprecating, but that's how I see myself. There's a reason I feel this way. My sister Isabella, 3 years my senior, lived up to her name with her striking beauty, making me face reality from a young age. Not only was Isabella beautiful on the outside, but she was also lively and cheerful, the pride of our parents. According to my mother, Isabella was beautiful from the moment she was born, so much so that they couldn't help but name her Isabella. As for me, lacking any notable features, they named me Sunny, hoping my life would be bright. If there was any area where I surpassed Isabella, it was perhaps my slightly better grades. Thanks to that, I didn't trouble my parents and was able to go to the high school and university of my choice on a scholarship. Isabella, on the other hand, got whatever she wanted by merely asking. Not just from our parents, but from relatives, neighbors, and various others, living as she pleased. Though she graduated from high school, she didn't work much afterward, dabbling in part-time modeling and living off allowances. When Isabella learned that I got into a top state university straight out of high school and on a scholarship, she ridiculed me. People like you, who have nothing but their studies, at least have to graduate from a decent university. She mocked, adding, Once you're out in the real world, studies won't help you. It's all about people's skills then. As if to say she was superior in that regard, and I was not. Being constantly compared to and distinguished from Isabella made me grow into someone with no confidence. And right after graduating and starting my job, I decided to marry Paul, an employee at a client company. No particular reason. He proposed, and that was enough for me. I wasn't sure if anyone else would offer me such a thing in my life, considering I saw no merit in myself. After getting married, I lived without opposing Paul, trying to keep things smooth and unobtrusive. I thought that was the best way for someone as ordinary as me to live. There's another reason I married Paul. When I was 21, in my third year of university, my parents died suddenly in an accident. After the days of their funeral settled, Isabella said, "I'm going to live a life that suits me. I don't need an ordinary sister like you. You can have this old house. I'll take all the cash." With that, Isabella left, taking the insurance money from the accident, our parents' insurance, cash, and valuables. I was left alone in our 30-year-old family home. My tuition was covered by scholarships, but I paid for my living expenses with part-time jobs and the crowdsourcing work I started around that time. It was lonely not getting much attention from my parents, who doted on Isabella. But having them around, even if they only looked at Isabella, was less lonely than not having them at all. Often, I cried at night from the loneliness, wishing they were still alive, even if they only cared for Isabella. Then, when I met Paul and he proposed, I said yes without thinking. I just wanted someone by my side, anyone. But once married, life wasn't much different than before. Quiet Sonny, who wouldn't oppose me, that's why I chose you as a spouse. If you don't like it, we can divorce any time, Paul declared boldly. And so, we lived like mere roommates. Why did he marry me? Just because I wasn't likely to oppose him, could he treat his life partner so coldly? But as long as I quietly did the housework and made Paul's life comfortable, he had no complaints and didn't resort to violence. I worried, but resigned to the belief that this was all someone like me could expect. Then, an unexpected visitor arrived. I came back because I'm having a baby. Isabella, who left 5 years ago, returned with a large belly. What's going on? Why are you back all of a sudden? Didn't I say? I came back to give birth at my parents' house. This house is still my family home, after all. Even so, when she left, she said she didn't need such an old house and took only the valuables. Now she returns, saying something like this, putting me in a difficult position. This is a problem. Why? Because, right now, I'm not the only one living in this house. Isabella looked surprised at my words. Do you have lodgers because there are empty rooms? Surely, not all the rooms are filled. It seemed Isabella hadn't even considered the possibility of me getting married. I'm married. No way, you're joking? You got married? Isabella burst out laughing. There must be some very unusual person out there. Or is it, by any chance, you supporting him? A leech? And he's sticking with you because he has no choice? What an awful thing to say. No, he has a proper job. And I work from home, too. Well, fine. It's just you and that man living here, right? Then there's room for me. I'm moving in. Without waiting for me to stop her, Isabella immediately opened the door to her former room, the best room in the house. Hey, what is this, all these books? Surely, you aren't living here now. Of course, it's my room now. After Isabella left and didn't return, I took over the most comfortable and spacious room as my own. What's wrong with that? How dare you do this to someone's room? Throw everything out. Wait a minute. Isabella began throwing my belongings into the hallway without permission. Stop. Some of these are work-related books. Stop it. When I desperately tried to stop her, Isabella, looking annoyed, said, You can see, right? I'm pregnant. You know whether it's good or bad to make a pregnant woman lift heavy things, don't you? Even without experiencing pregnancy, I knew that much, but what was Isabella trying to say? Fine. I'm kind, so I'll give you 3 days. During that time, get all of your stuff out of here and make it comfortable for me to live in. Are you serious? This is my room. It's only natural for the original occupant to return. I'll stay in another room until then, so hurry up, okay? Isabella declared this and then moved into the next most comfortable-looking guest room without permission. I felt so helpless. I gathered my belongings thrown in the hallway and brought them back into my room. Luckily, nothing was severely damaged since I stopped her quickly, but the corner of one of my professional books was significantly dented. I felt sorry for it and apologized to the book as I stroked the damaged corner. That night, when Paul came back and I explained the situation, he became furious. What's this? What's she doing here without permission? Call that Isabella here. I'll tell her to leave. Feeling relieved, I called Isabella to the living room, hoping Paul would ask her to leave, but something unexpected happened. Your Sonny's husband? What a charming man. As soon as Isabella said this with a smile, Paul seemed smitten and said, That's tough. If you're okay with this house, feel free to stay as long as you like. Agreeing to let Isabella stay in our house. Isabella looked at me with a triumphant smile and laughed. That was the beginning of a nightmare-like life. Paul, who used to hardly be at home due to his frequent outings, started coming home right after work ended. The weekend entertainments seemed to have ceased, and he was always at home. He clung to Isabella, who didn't seem to mind and even leaned on him. Then, the two of them started ordering me around, telling me to do this and that. I was treated like nothing more than a servant. Even I reached my limit and decided to speak up. I have something I want to discuss. I was even angry at myself for not being able to say it any stronger. What is it? Got something to say? More importantly, it's been 3 days, so I'll be sleeping in that room from tonight. If you haven't cleared it out by then, I'll throw away whatever's left. Enraged by Isabella's declaration, I couldn't help but retort. That room is mine, this is my house. When I talked back like that, Isabella's eyes widened in surprise. Not just Isabella, but Paul, and even I myself was surprised by what I had said. It was the first time I ever talked back to Isabella or Paul like that. Cheeky, using your room for yourself. That's right. Sonny, just sleep in the garden. Isabella and Paul were momentarily silenced by surprise, but probably thinking I wouldn't stand up to them further, they laughed dismissively. This is my parents' house, not just Sonny's. Exactly, Isabella is right. But maybe you should just divorce Paul. And I become the housewife of this house, that sounds good. Paul got excited at Isabella's words. That sounds great. And his sleazy laughter was unstoppable. Then Sonny can't stay in this house anymore. What will you do? Clear out that room or divorce and leave this house? I don't care either way. I bit my lip in frustration. It was my attitude up until now that let them get so carried away. I was furious at myself for always being so submissive to such people. What'll it be? If you're clearing out, I can wait a bit longer. Isabella isn't just beautiful on the outside but inside too. Despite their condescending looks and nasty smiles, I felt a small spark of anger light up within me. It's hopeless, these two are beyond saving. No, I'll handle this. After being ridiculed to this extent, I can't just stay silent. Understood, but please, just one more day, and then I'll move all the stuff out of that room. Please. Seeing me apologize, Isabella and Paul looked down on me and said they would wait one more day. It's okay, you don't have to rush. After all, with so much stuff, take a little more time. Just understand, that's all you need to do. Isabella is really kind, so magnanimous. I suppressed the urge to yell. Thank you, I appreciate it. I said my thanks and went back to my room, locking the door. Time to start cleaning up. I'll start by making some calls to look things up. As expected, it was hard to get a date that worked for the movers, and I ended up apologizing to them again, asking for a 5-day extension. They got cocky and demanded, "Treat us to good meat, expensive fruits, then we'll consider it." But I accepted their demands. Let them enjoy this moment, I'll make them pay back many times over soon. Thinking this, such expenses seemed insignificant. In fact, I felt amused by my own strength of resolve, marveling at how resilient a person can become. And on the promised day, 5 days later. "Thank you for your help, please proceed." The moving company I called entered the house and moved all my belongings to a specified location. "You seem to be planning a thorough cleanup." "Good for you." All those musty books were such a nuisance. "It'll be nice to have it all cleared out." "No, I mean, I was fine with settling things with someone else and taking it easy with just you and me, Isabella." "That would be nice. Maybe next time." Isabella said this with a laugh, and Paul's face melted into a sloppy, smitten smile. What a despicable man. I wonder what I ever saw in such a man to marry him. Even if I felt crushed by loneliness, I curse my past decision. But that's all right, I'm correcting that mistake now. In no time, all the belongings I had ordered were moved out and delivered to a certain location. I also requested a cleaning service, so it's significantly tidier now. However, what I requested to be moved were only things from the room Isabella used to use, my study filled with documents and a computer for work, and other personal items of sentimental value. The stuff in the worst lit room, which Paul had turned into a storage for his hobbies, and the things in the bedroom that used to belong to my parents, which Paul uses, were left as they were. I was always ordered by Paul to clean the bedroom, but he didn't like me touching his things, so I didn't. And there was one more room, originally intended as a storage room but became cluttered with Isabella's belongings over time, making it unclear what was what in the dirty room. I hadn't touched that either. I had wanted to dispose of everything Isabella left behind when she moved out, but fearing she might return unexpectedly and complain, I left it untouched, and it remained that way until today. When I was living alone, ignoring such a room was no problem, and after getting married, Paul started throwing his unwanted items there, making it even harder to tackle. "It's much tidier now, isn't it?" "Wait a minute." Isabella turned to me angrily. "What happened to the bed?" "Everything is gone. I can't sleep in this room now." Isabella stomped her feet in frustration and protested. "Did you need the bed too? You said to take everything out. You should have thought about it." "Well, it's already moved, so maybe Paul can buy a new one," I said with a laugh, and then Paul protested. "Why should I buy it? It's your fault, so you should buy her a new bed." I expected him to say that. So, I presented Paul with a document. "This is a divorce application. With this, you can marry Isabella." Paul's eyes sparkled as he looked at the green paper. "And this is a marriage license application. I've signed one of the witness sections, but you'll need to find someone else for the other." I saw Paul's eyes shine even brighter. "I'm leaving this house from now on. You two can do as you please." I said my farewells to them. "If you fill in what's necessary, I'll submit it right away." Without me having to say anything, Paul had already started filling out the divorce papers in a hurry. Then, he handed them to me casually, as if he was asking me to do a simple errand, saying, "I'm counting on you." Understood. Thanks for everything. By then, I put the divorce papers in my bag and left my childhood home. "Do whatever you like with the marriage certificate?" I left the house I had lived in for so long and moved into a monthly rental apartment I had arranged to be immediately habitable. I'm looking forward to seeing what moves they make next. I'll probably hear from them soon. For now, I stored my belongings in a monthly rented storage unit. It hurts to spend a bit, but I'll consider it retribution for all the times I turned a blind eye to troublesome matters. Then, I opened a can of beer and toasted to myself. Today marks the day I became free. From now on, I've decided to live my life not swayed by such people, living as I want to. Helped by the beer, I comfortably drifted into sleep. A few days later, my mobile phone kept ringing incessantly. It was around the time I might have overslept a bit. Half asleep, I answered the phone. "What is it?" "It's not what is it?" Isabella's yelling voice burst through as soon as I picked up. So noisy, I was sleeping so well. Usually, I'd still be in my dreams at this time. I had a hunch about why I had to wake up early. "The real estate agent is here. They're here for a house appraisal." "Sonny, what have you done?" "Real estate agents sure get up early," I replied nonchalantly. "What did you do?" "What did I do?" "Didn't you say a real estate agent came for an appraisal? Don't you understand what that means?" During those 5 days, I had consulted about selling the family home. I had always lived there, bearing its inconveniences for the sake of memories with my parents. But upon reflection, those memories were just of Isabella behaving selfishly and our parents allowing her free rein. Adding to that, the time spent as Paul's servant after our marriage, and foreseeing Isabella's return to rule as a tyrant. Who would want to cling to such a house? Not just that. Perhaps Isabella's future child, my niece or nephew, would turn out just like their parents. A very high chance indeed. Was I to be trampled and oppressed by them for life? Realizing this, I was stunned, then resolved to take this chance to start anew, throwing everything away. "I won't allow any rash actions. This house is mine too. Cancel it immediately," Isabella commanded loudly over the phone. "You have no right to say that, Isabella." "What did you say? Don't you remember? When you left, you took all the insurance money, jewelry, and other valuables, didn't you? You signed the property division documents then." "That's right. I had sorted through all of our parents' estate and made it official. If not, we couldn't proceed with the inheritance." When I explained this, Isabella decided everything else was hers by default. "When you left, you said you were giving me the house. You didn't want such an old house. So, after processing the inheritance, it officially became mine." "I don't remember that. Let's divide it again now. The house is half mine too." "Monetarily, the cash and valuables you took were worth far more. Even if you contest it now, your claim won't hold." I informed Isabella of the facts with a slight smile. "If you really want half of the house, please share half of the cash you took. Then, I might reconsider." It was impossible. I had even hired a detective agency to investigate how Isabella had lived since leaving the house. She had used her subservient friends to live freely for a while. But as time passed, those friends either running out of money or facing reality, and some no longer finding the now late 20s Isabella attractive, drifted away. In desperation, Isabella apparently tried to marry a financially attractive older man by claiming she was pregnant with his child, but alas, he was already married. The man, afraid his wife would find out, gave Isabella some money and promised to pay child support to get rid of the nuisance. Since the condominium she had been living in was also in his name, Isabella, with nowhere else to go, returned to her childhood home. She probably thought that once she returned, she could dump the child on me and live off the child support as she pleased. I relayed to Isabella, in a matter-of-fact manner, what I had come to know. Sonny, how do you know that? Did you have a detective agency investigate? That's a sneaky thing to do. No matter what she says, this is reality, and knowing it, I'll use it for my brighter future. Even if you say that, I can't unlearn what I've already found out. Besides, have you already submitted the marriage permit with Paul? I have. What about it? I've sent a demand letter for compensation to Paul and Isabella. It should arrive today. What? I had consulted with a lawyer about Isabella's return and decided to claim compensation as a cause for divorce. Isabella and I had no relation while I was married to you, Sonny. Does that mean they do now? Either way, it doesn't matter to me. Regardless, the fact that Isabella is the direct cause of our divorce doesn't change. We had outwardly seemed like a happy couple. Paul made sure his tyranny wasn't known outside. So it appears that our current state began with Isabella's return. To anyone looking from the outside, it would seem obvious that the two of them, after an affair, conspired to get rid of me. So, I'll be waiting for your payment. Also, that man's wife knows about Isabella and is furious. She said she'll be demanding compensation, so I gave her your family home's address. What? Sonny! I had no intention of listening further and turned off my mobile phone after saying just that. The demand letter also stated that any future contact should go through my lawyer, and if they attempt direct contact, the compensation amount would increase, so I shouldn't have to hear their voices again. They won't know where I am, anyway. As expected, Isabella and Paul tried to claim a right to live in the house without leaving, but the fact that I had been paying for the property taxes, utilities, repairs, and all other expenses, plus their act of driving me out, along with documents Isabella signed acknowledging the inheritance division, meant their claim didn't hold. Eventually, they had to leave the family home and now live in a cheap apartment. I managed to get the bank to lend Paul the amount I claimed. Thanks to his still being officially employed, ensuring he had the creditworthiness for the loan, but who knows what the future holds, better to secure the money while I can. The compensation from Isabella was paid out of the money she received from the man she claimed was the father of her child. As for the compensation to the man's wife from Isabella, I don't know, nor is it my concern. After settling everything, I canceled the mobile phone I had kept just in case, cutting off all contact from Isabella and Paul. Isabella did give birth safely, but DNA testing showed the child wasn't from the wealthy man she had claimed. Relying on a significant amount of child support, Isabella panicked when the man, learning the truth, angrily stopped the payments. Why I know this is because Isabella and Paul begged the lawyer to contact me, wanting to speak to me. What should I do? I was asked, but of course, I had no intention of making contact. Why should I put myself at risk when I've started a peaceful new life somewhere they don't know? Legally, the child was treated as Paul's. Due to the divorce being finalized and him submitting the marriage permit with Isabella immediately after. I feel sorry for the child, but there's nothing I can do. I might be considered heartless for saying this, but showing mercy carelessly could drag me back into hell, and I want to avoid that at all costs. After ending everything, I bought a condominium big enough to fit all the belongings I had moved out and relocated there. Of course, I purchased the condominium with the money from selling the family home, the compensation from the two, and my own savings. The new condo is very comfortable. I can do my job from anywhere, and having a skill ensures I won't struggle for food in the future. Lately, I've also learned to dress up and go out. Doing my makeup and looking in the mirror, I somehow feel I resemble Isabella, whom I despised so much. It's unpleasant, but it seems blood-related sisters after all. Seeing myself looking slightly more beautiful, I smiled. With Isabella, who was beautiful but shallow, and my ex-husband, who thought only of using others as cautionary tales. I'll live my life as the main character from now on. I promised myself, with a smile, that I would surely find happiness.